Hey, oh man, more wrestling with Rosenberg. God, I'm excited. Paul E. How are you?
That's your first question? We're going to start off with how are you?
What do you want me to say?
Ask me something provocative.
What did you think of that article in the New Yorker about Peter Rosenberg?
It's amazing to me, number one, how high your career has escalated in the past 12 months since we sat down at the last Radio Row.
Yes.
And how dramatically low the standards are now for New Yorker magazine.
It's a combination of both, right? It's a combination of both. Me doing well.
I'm sorry, I was distracted. You ever wonder why Daniel Bryan keeps on saying yes, 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 and other people saying no, no, no? Don't you think there ought to be like a maybe guy?
Yeah.
You know, like
why
a
isn't there a
Jewish
maybe guy?
Like a Jewish guy, you know? Like, Daniel Bryan going, yes, yes, yes. And then you have, the bad guy who goes, no, no, no. And you have, like little schmuck boy comes out and he goes, maybe, maybe.
What about,
maybe, Lozengain, maybe, maybe.
That could be your thing. You could be the maybe guy.
Maybe guy. I'm always looking for the next shtick.
I know. How... You and I have chatted before, and you've been running around. I'll try to reach out to you every once in a while, and I get the sense, I don't know if you're aware of this, that you seem quite busy. How busy are you? Do we take us through a week of Paul Heyman's life? Let's start on a Monday, going to a city.
Monday is Raw.
So let's start off there. You fly to Raw wherever
I fly to Raw usually on Sundays.
Really?
Yeah.
You go a night early?
Yeah.
Why?
Because some schmuck goes into LaGuardia Airport and drops a bag of baby powder and they think it's anthrax and they shut down the airport for 5 hours. I ain't making it to Raw.
And you are not missing Raw.
I'm not missing Raw.
Well, that's not happening. You're not missing your shine that week.
No, so
Let's go on.
I go in the night. I'm a professional.
You are a professional. So Sunday night, you...
travel to the city in which Raw will be presented.
Okay. You stay at the hotel.
Or from which Raw will be presented.
Okay. And then what? Then Monday's Raw.
Monday is Raw.
Well, what do you do Monday then? If you're already in the city, what's your day like?
I wake up in the morning and I speak to my children.
You call them up?
Hopefully be going to school.
Okay.
And
how old are your children?
My children are 9 and 11.
Okay.
And then I do a lot of work for my agency, the Looking for Larry agency in New York City, which is an advertising, marketing, and branding firm.
Even though you still we haven't made any money together yet, which is what are we doing? I just want what's happening.
I didn't know that you were a stockholder.
You didn't think I'm not a stockholder. I want to help your stockholders. That's what I want to. Why aren't the two Jews?
Because you haven't gotten Hot 97 to pay for a campaign.
Oh,
don't you think you ought to lean on?
No, we can't do
God,
that.
Man, I was doing more business with Hot 97 when Fast Freddie Colon and Ricky Ricardo were on the air.
I bet they had more money back then.
Well,
come on.
Maybe they got somebody who could keep up with your ratings. See, you thought it was going to be an insult, but it's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually a compliment.
Explain.
I said people who can keep up with your ratings.
Oh.
I took on all the other jobs.
I see it,
and I praised you.
Okay, so you work on things from your agency throughout the day. When do you go in? When do you find out what you're doing that day? Is this something?
I pretty much have a concept before I arrive.
Is that from conversations from the week before?
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes over the weekend, and sometimes day of.
Okay. And are these direct conversations with whomever Vince or whoever?
Whomever.
It depends.
Doesn't matter. It's whether it's Vince or whether it's one of the writers or whether it's one of the spies I have that will hack into their computers and steal the script for me.
You know what's going on.
Well, that's part of my job is recon and intel, isn't it?
Okay, so you go to Raw Monday night, and what do you do after Raw? Do you stay in the city again?
If I'm going to SmackDown, I travel to SmackDown. I get in the night before. And if I'm going home, I stay up all night and catch the first flight out going home.
If you're traveling to SmackDown, who do you travel with?
I usually travel by myself because it's the best company that I can keep.
It's a fine company.
I'm always on the phone with people the whole ride anyway. And if there is anybody else that travels with me, I don't know when the statute of limitations runs out. So I rather respectfully invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
Well done. Well done. So then you go to SmackDown. You do SmackDown.
Yes.
And then, okay, so Wednesday. The non-wrestling week or active work begins on Wednesday.
Right.
So what do you do then? You go into your office?
I pretty much no. I avoid my office like the plague. Okay. My office is right here in my hand.
So you're just on your phone wherever.
I'm on my phone, and when I usually go home, I take the first flight out on Wednesday morning, and I fly home. And if my children are already in school, then I catch up on all my tapes of Hot 97 in the morning so that I can hear what Rosenberg had to say on
That's
the air.
absolutely right.
And
that's what makes him the man. So you get all fresh. And what else does the week include, though, for you? Is there anything else? What else do you talk to Brock throughout the week?
Absolutely.
About just WWE or about many things?
Yeah, about many things. We have many projects that we're discussing, and I also have other projects that I'm working on, and I have an agency to run as well. So I mean, I'm busy 24/7. I'm always hustling, man. I'm always.
I
hustling.
know you are Heyman's hustle. Heyman's hustle, baby. You go hard. Do you miss being the pencil guy? Is there any part of you that misses the booking, the overall running everything? Are you cool? You're happy just being a personality?
Yeah, I don't really look back on things. To miss things means I have to wax nostalgic, and I don't do that in life. I don't really go, I remember when I was directing, I remember when I was writing, I remember when I was producing. It's like saying, I remember when my children were in diapers and they would first take their little steps and do their walk. I enjoy each facet of my life as it happens, and then as the next stage occurs, I try to get the most out of that one as well.
So you don't spend time worrying about things.
Did you have a great time at your prom?
I did have. I'm not a good person to ask. I probably spend too much time thinking about things. Although I guess you're right. I don't look back that far.
I mean, I had a great time my senior year in high school, but I don't want to relive it. I want to enjoy the fact that I did it, that I missed most of my classes, came in, only took my midterms and my finals and passed, and pretty much played hooky the entire year and still got straight.
Well, you were running around with a camera around your neck, taking pictures at wrestling at the Madison Square Garden, and already doing your own magazine.
So what's wrong with that?
No,
I had
nothing.
the time of my life, but I don't want to relive that either.
Right.
I've done it, so I move on to the next stage.
Did you think there would be a time after the ECW run ends and there's supposedly this big pay-per-view and things didn't go well and there was a blow-up of some sort and things weren't necessarily amazing with you and the company? Did you think there was going to be a time in which as we all know, both you and Vince McMahon are people who will mend any fence to do good business?
Of course.
But did you think that there would be a time when you would be one of the most prominent characters on WWE television again?
When ECW ended, I never thought I'd be on camera again. In fact, one of the things, and this is such a typical Vince McMahon story, not that there's anything typical about Vince McMahon, but when I cut my deal to come to WWE, one of the things that I was insistent upon was I'm never on camera again. And of course, when Jerry Lawler walked out because they had fired his wife, I get the phone call, "Need you on TV Monday, pal." Okay.
And that went out the window.
Well, because that was the need of the company, and therefore the job description changed based on what the company needed the most. And I understood that from Vince's perspective because I've also lived my life that way, and therefore the company needed me more on that day as a commentator than it did as a behind-the-scenes writer, director, producer, or whatever else that job entailed. So, no, I never envisioned ever being on camera again, to be honest with you.
There was a moment you had on screen with Stephanie within the last year where she slapped you and hit you, and you both said lots of things. And
I didn't really get a chance to say much to her.
You didn't say much.
But she sure got a chance to vent to me. That was on Raw 1000, right.
Oh, it was Raw 1000.
Yeah, that was on Raw 1000.
Perfect. So that's a monumental Raw. I think that's one of the ones you can maybe find on the WWE network. I don't know if you know this, there are people in the wrestling world who believed that a lot of words were being said there, as often is the case on WWE television, that maybe reflect people's feelings in real life. That moment certainly felt intense. What kind of conversations do you have before a moment like that? How much do you know? How much is real emotion actually a part of that, or is history a part of that, or is it completely a work?
I would hope that I invoke that level of passion and intensity in Stephanie McMahon to where I will be kept around for the next 40 years for her to lambast and vent against and slap the piss out of as hard and as emotionally as she would like to make it. I hope it's real. I wouldn't want anything less. I wouldn't want her to just recite us. And then you had ECW, and you were not up to the standard. Wait, what was my line? I don't want that. If you got something real to say to me, and we have 5, 6, 7 million people watching live just domestically, let alone around the world, and you want to bring that level of realism and intensity and emotion to our segment, I'm in, man. I'm ready for that. That's the type of atmosphere I live for.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that you, of all people, would certainly appreciate getting to have a moment like that. How'd the slaps feel? Do you remember the slaps?
She beat the living crap out of me.
What's the most physical pain you've ever had from any of the things you've done in a ring? You mean you're not Bobby Heenan. You haven't gotten tossed over the rope on a regular occasion, but you've certainly taken your share of bumps here and there.
I herniated my C5 and my C7 on an F5 back in 2003 in San Francisco. That hurt.
Did you guys practice it?
No.
So you've seen it 1,000 times.
Right.
You're super close with Brock, obviously.
Yes.
You know this is something that's going to happen.
Well, what happened is first he hits the Big Show with an F5,
Which, by the way, is my favorite F5. Anytime he hits the Big Show with the F5, I think is the sweetest thing ever.
And Brock had gotten so bored in just F5ing the Big Show that he started to throw him across the ring like a dwarf. So he was throwing the 7-foot-tall, 500-pound giant completely clear across the ring for both distance and accuracy. So when it came time to flinging me up in the air, it was kind of like when a baseball player is in the on-deck circle and, he swings 3 or 4 bats with the weights on them. So when he gets up to the plate, it's easy.
Oh, no.
So, he flung me so high up in the air, I came down like a Ferris wheel, and I came down straight on top of my head, and it was not a pleasant experience.
What other finishes have you taken?
I don't know one I haven't taken yet.
Have you been pedigreed?
Oh, of course I've been pedigreed. Haven't you watched the shows?
I forget.
I was pedigreed all throughout the year last year because I was making a lot more TVs than Brock.
Oh, so has there ever been a moment in which you've trained and you went with got in a ring with some wrestlers?
I think you could have ended that question with, has there ever been a moment that you've trained? And the answer is obviously no.
But, I mean, what about things like that? I've heard taking the pedigree is not fun. I mean, it's a risky thing.
It's not meant to be fun.
But your face is super exposed.
Right.
Does that something that requires a conversation?
Exhilarating, isn't it?
Your head's stuck between a man's legs, which already isn't a pleasant way to start, and then thrusted faceward into the mat.
Yeah, but I'm facing downward towards the mat, so I didn't really mind that much being between his legs.
Yeah, I guess it's better than the alternative, right? I mean, it's... But is there one finish that was most unpleasant besides that particular F5?
Probably taking the beatings with the canes from CM Punk.
Oh.
Because everybody thought I was wearing padding. But the problem with padding is padding is made from neoprene, which is what you use when you do scuba diving, when you do deep water diving. And the way that it works is it's insulated, but you have to wear a size too small. That's how you're protected by it, because it compresses your body like Spanx for the fat girls that listen to your radio show.
Well, they're really into my wrestling. Actually, you know what? There are probably some people with Spanx who are listening.
And the problem with restrictive clothing is that it restricts your breathing. And it's hard enough for a fat guy like me to breathe while I'm out there doing something physical. I don't want my breathing restricted. I want to be able to take as many deep breaths as possible. So the beatings that I took from CM Punk with the cane were not benefited by the possibility of me wearing any padding. I wasn't wearing any padding. I just took the beatings with the cane, and I assure you, they hurt like hell.
Well, also, CM Punk is your dear friend. However, there still has to be a bit of a receipt there, because the shots you gave him in the chamber, what was it? Which was the ladder? Yeah. Wasn't it the ladder?
You busted his head wide open.
You got him pretty good. He told you to, I'm sure, but you got him good.
We don't have to tell each other.
It's a given. It's a given.
That's the gig, man. I mean, that's the thing. When it's advertised that Paul Heyman is going to take an ass kicking, I can assure you, if you want to see me take an ass kicking, I'm going to get my ass kicked royally. It's not going to be with someone taking it easy on me. If I'm going to get my ass kicked, I'm going to get my ass kicked, and you're going to get your money's worth. And if I tell you that dude across the ring, he's going to take a beating from my guy, I can assure you, we're going to deliver the beating. It's going to be as real as it possibly can be under the given circumstances.
Now, in my experience, you know, I grew up on Bobby Heenan in his WWF days. I recently heard Wade Keller talking about how, as amazing as Heenan was in those days, he was only a shade of what he was in his AWA days. For my money, though, when you got to see Bobby Heenan get his comeuppance, it was always so satisfying because of how good he was at taking that beating. Is he someone, or who else are the people who you keep in mind as far as seeing that weaselly heel just get their ass kicked?
With all due respect to the Bobby Heenans and the Lou Albanos and the Grand Wizards and the Freddie Blassies and the Sir Oliver Humperdinks and the Bobby Davises and all the great managers that preceded me, I don't consider myself a manager. I consider myself an advocate. I don't want to fill the role that they filled. I want to find a new role. I want to create something different. I want to bring something different to the table, and I'd like to be paid differently as they were paid as well.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying that you should be paid differently.
So I just, you know, I look to redefine the role, and I look to create a new job description, because I don't want to be the next in line or the last of anything or the heir apparent or the successor to the throne. I want to be the first at something. I want everybody else in history to say, I want to be the next Paul Heyman. I want to do the role that Heyman played.
Well, don't you think you've already done that, or do you realize that you've already done that? Because you've already done that. I mean, that's something that's going to happen.
I think I'm redefining it as every day goes on. I mean,
I guess there's no way to know how the story even plays out for you. I mean, you're a young man. There's plenty more to do.
I would one can only hope. You know, I would hope that we have this conversation a year from now, and it's like, hey, remember last year when you were only doing this? And wow, you've expanded that role into something that is groundbreaking and trend-setting and could never have been envisioned or imagined, or was even unfathomable 12 months ago. That's the goal.
Hey, what's your...
You're on a hip-hop station.
Yeah.
And you're a Jewish kid in his 30s, and you're doing the morning gig. Who would have thought this 10 years ago?
Right? Exactly. You got to keep pushing.
You got a story in the New Yorker magazine.
You know, I'm going to take another picture because that shot, the light's even better with Paul. I mean, you're absolutely right. No, who would think it? Who would think it? I mean, why not keep pushing? Why not see what else is there?
I mean, look, no accounting for taste, but, you know.
Pretty good.
You're breaking barriers here. You know? I mean, I just did the local radio show here in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, I'd be kicking it, but my leg too short. Now, I'm an educated man, so obviously I have no idea what he was saying to me.
Right, like what the slang, what the vernacular is that he's trying to deliver.
But that is where hip-hop has been for so many years. That a Jewish kid from Scarsdale, like me, wouldn't necessarily understand what's being said on the hip-hop station. And now, in 2014,
things are different.
A tribesman not only can listen to Hot 97, but there's a tribesman on Hot 97 speaking this vernacular, and once in a while in Yiddish.
And well, not once in a while, all the time.
Rosenberg.
I know.
Rosenberg. I'm going to listen to Hot 97, and guess who's going to interview Lil Wayne or Drake or Jay-Z, or be sitting there and trying to sniff Beyonce's tuchus as she walks by out of the studio. And don't deny you didn't try to sniff Beyonce's tuchus.
Of course I would.
Because of course you did.
Of course I would.
And Jay-Z wouldn't respect you if you didn't try to sniff her tuchus, right? Where else can now a Jewish kid from Scarsdale go on a hip-hop station and even think of saying the word tuchus and having the DJ understand what he's saying? This is a groundbreaking, barrier-breaking moment in the history of hip-hop, of New York radio, and for Jews as a culture and a people. And that's what I try to do in sports entertainment. I try to boldly go where no Hebrew has gone before.
And you've done it well, Paul.
Well, if
Very
you can't
well.
do it well, why do it at all?
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Heyman, he is the advocate for Brock Lesnar this Sunday, WrestleMania. Super excited about it. It's always a pleasure to see you. Well, not to see you, but to talk to you.
So it's not a pleasure to see me.
Seeing you
Well,
I mean, if Trinity was here,
but then again, you know what? Once you sniff Beyonce's tuchus, how much fun can it be just to look at Heyman?
this is what I'm saying. This is my life. So, hey, Paul, awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you, sir.
Oh, come on.